Thanks to a generous patron, we're exploring the Cellular and Billet XRG Surge XRG is what they're calling it, but it's a 100 grain solid copper projectile that I hadn't shot before. I have put 3 rounds through it now in a what's for dinner test, but I'm curious to learn more about this, and I'm sure you guys are too, so we'll explore coming up next on GB Guns! Solid copper hollow points are something that I've come to appreciate. They are somewhat infamous for shallow penetration in gel. We're not going to do a gel test today because no matter how you do a gel test, there's always ways to argue that it's wrong or not realistic, etc., etc. So I want to find the energy levels. If you're curious about solid copper hollow points, they tend to open up nicely. They tend to retain almost all of their weight. And because of that shallower penetration, they're dumping all of their energy in the target rather than passing through and spilling some energy, delivering some energy onto something you didn't intend to hit. So that's why I say I like the solid copper hollow points. I'd rather not quite cause massive, well, I don't know how you even phrase that. Like I'd rather not have the 16 inches or 18 inches of penetration, but know that all the energy was delivered than waste some or hit something else with some, because remember, energy delivery is really what shooting is all about. Mankind began using violence with their fists. Delivering energy becomes how hard you can hit, and as far as penetration, so to speak, that's surface area of our fist. But blunt objects are one thing. We then move into projectiles of like, hey, I want to impart that same energy like I was hitting someone, but to that dude way over there. Then we got into projectiles. Now with firearms, we can go way over there and keep ourselves at a safe distance. So really, these energy calculations are about what theoretically you're imparting on the target. That's why it's so important. Something that most of the market or the industry seems to kind of skipped over is that in the US, most 9mm ammunition is loaded for a 4-inch barrel. That means when the projectiles are designed and they give you the stated velocity, for example, on this, it is saying 1,312 feet per second. That's supposed to be from a 4-inch barrel. However, 4-inch barrels are kind of out of mode. So I've got 3 different barrel lengths that we're going to test today. We're going to start off with a 4 1/4. Yes, that's right, overspeed, the Grand Power K100, because I know of Grand Power's spectacular barrel construction. And with that extra 1/4 inch, we should have no excuse for incomplete burn, as well as the fact that the 23 load test that I did for the 9mm range ammunition guide was done through a Grand Power 4 1/4 inch barrel. So the numbers we get from that will let you look at that chart to see what kind of energy recoil impulse you might feel. Then I do have a standard 4-inch, in this case the SAR9C Gen 3, a pistol that I was really impressed with, shoot well with. And then to represent the N mode micro compacts, we have the little Canik METE MC9. I'll be shooting these through a chronograph, looking at the velocities, giving you the energy, looking at the differences in energy, and you'll get the group. The group may or may not be ammunition consistency, but certainly has a lot to do with me, the shooter, and my abilities. So let's get into it. One quick note, as I'm loading these, I have noticed some inconsistencies in the color. The one that is on this side, I think that'll be your left, is more yellowish than this guy, which has a more copper color. Is that a wash or a coating that are on some of the rounds? Is that inconsistency in the quality of the copper they're using? I don't know, but that is something of note because, again, back to the whole gel test thing, throwing one into the gel versus another, you might get 2 very different results. Beginning with our control, the Grand Power K100, which is a 4 1/4 inch barrel. That view should give you clear chronograph and target. See how we do. Now that inconsistent color load was in the second gun's magazine, the SAR9C. We'll see if we get a wildly different, I don't think we'll get a different velocity, but who knows. All right, let's get this control going. $12.86, $12.77, $12.93, $12.56, and $12.63. Now that velocity is not what's posted on the box, and we have a longer barrel than SAMI spec. Difference could be their error, our air, or altitude. That's something to keep in mind whenever you look at these. I'm at approximately 300-foot elevation, so the air is denser here, and you do indeed get significant differences in velocity if you go up in elevation. Now onto our 4-inch barrel, the SAR9C Gen 3. See how we do here. Remember, the box was 1312. I don't think we're going to see that. 1311, interesting. 1283. 1265. 1257. And 1310 with not as great of a group, despite the fact that this gun's pretty good. That's probably just a pairing of this ammunition with that barrel type. I'd have to go back and review the original review of the SAR9C, but I recall that particular gun tended to like the heavier ammunition in the What's for Dinner test. So now you've got your numbers to see what kind of energy we're looking at pumping out. We'll reset and move on to the micro compact. Now for the little shorty, Canik MC9, that I'll get about 1.5 fingers on the gun. This will be fun. Let's see how we do, what kind of velocity and what kind of energy we're losing by having a smaller gun with this load. A little snappy, 1274, 1240, 1259, 1249, and 1279. And I'll give you a guess which gun has sights that work best for me today. All right, so now we've got that energy out there. It appears to me that with this load, we're not having a significant range of velocity from longer barrel to shorter barrel, which is excellent. That means that, at least with these 3 barrels, you've got a good chance of the ammunition performing the same every time. That's something to keep in mind when you're selecting your defensive loads, is how it's going to perform in your gun. I know a lot of people can't comprehend this, but it is indeed similar to rifles in that make to make, the same barrel length, the same rifling, all that kind of stuff performs differently, and pistol to pistol or rifle to rifle, you can get different favorite loads. But these are 3 I chose somewhat for commonality and also for barrel length. I hope you found this educational. To me, stuff seems really consistent, and it seems like barrel length doesn't matter. That to me sounds like something that I could grab and use in my winter gun and my summer gun, vice versa. Of course, I'm carrying a different load, but big thanks to the patron for sending this out. I hope this answered some of your questions, and you guys can look for this S&B XRG in upcoming What's for Dinner reviews, thanks to our patrons' generosity. Thanks for watching.
Thank you to our Patreon supporters. GB Guns and I do 2 level. Tomboys SS, Hale, Brian, Dave F, Dave Rick S Jr. Donald H, Fast, Eddie, Gary B, George H, Greg K, Joseph T, Marvin T, Bay, Rich, Sky King, Hello to Fame, Jenna. Thanks for the tip. H.